intermarriage?
Good morning once again. My name is Priva Elibaz. Welcome to the last segment of our show, which is Our Views, where we basically talk about, conversations that are pertinent to our daily lives and, of course, conversations that really affect us in general. And, of course, today I'm joined by the ladies, that is Apollo Sarah, Shivan Auma, and Agi Uwase. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good.
Well, today we're going to be looking at mixed marriages, or what people call intermarriage, but specifically we're going to zero it down to the fact that Indian men in Uganda have been told to actually have been requested or begged, if I should say, to marry Ugandan women. So earlier this week, especially I think it was actually on Monday, the Uganda Parliamentary Forum on Indian Affairs asked the Indian community to allow Ugandan men to also marry Indian women so as to deepen the relationship between two countries. Now, speaking at the launch of the forum last week, Mr. Fred Opolot, who is the chairperson, as well as the Pingire County Member of Parliament, said he has observed that Indian men are marrying Ugandan women, but it's not the same with the Ugandan men. Like, there's already intermarriages happening between Ugandan men and Indian women, but not Ugandan women being I beg your pardon, not Ugandan men marrying Indian ladies. So still, Mr. Polot said historical relations between Uganda and India, of course, span over a century, with the arrival of over 30,000 Indians who came to construct the Mombasa-Kampala railway line. Now, we also say the independence struggle in India inspired the counterparts in Uganda to fight against the British colonization. Of course, they asked him whether this is acceptable to the Indians, especially the Indian community. Mr. Turasha, who coordinated the establishment of the forum together with Rajesh Chaplot, who is the former chairman of the Indian Association of Uganda, said in Kenya, the men are already marrying Indian women, but the marriages do not last due to the differences in culture. Now, Buweju County Member of Parliament Francis Mwijuche and ICT National Guidance Minister, that is Dr. Chris Baryomunsi, all welcomed the proposal. And in particular, Minister Baryomunsi said there is no law that prohibits anyone from marrying whoever they wish, and therefore establishing intermarriages between Indians and Ugandans does not require any parliamentary intervention. So, ladies, the very first question that I have to ask you is, give us a general overview of intermarriages in general and how you feel about intermarriage.
I think it's beautiful. I think it could be very beautiful because that's the coming together of two different cultures. And the purpose of intermarriages a while back, or when kingdoms would marry from a different kingdom, it was a way to show that there was an alliance between either the two kingdoms or the two families or two clans or whatever the case may be. Yeah. It's more or less like saying we are pledging our allegiance to each other and loyalty to each other. And I think, on the greater hand, I think it's a wonderful thing. I am for it completely. I don't think I have dated within my tradition, my culture or my tribe, or even within my race or nationality. Yeah. Everybody's welcome. You just have to have a good manifesto. But yes, I'm for it. Love is love. Yes.
Yes, Agi or Shivan, let us know what you think.
Okay, let me go next. For me, intermarriages, Sarah said it's a good thing. Well, it is a good thing because at the end of the day, the reasons why people intermarry, like let's say from back in the day, some was due to, they wanted social acceptance, because you'd find a space where this tribe and this tribe, they do not get along, so they resort to intermarrying so that they can actually get along, because families bring about togetherness. Let's look at, whenever people are going for introductions, this is this family coming together with this family, before you know it, you're living harmoniously. You put your grievances aside for the sake of just the togetherness when it comes to intermarriages. So for me, I think it's a good thing, but it shouldn't be forced on anyone. You shouldn't have to ask anyone to marry anyone. With that statement, asking the Indian community to actually allow their daughters or their women to get married to Uganda men. Why are you asking? If someone wants to marry someone, then let them. For me, that's what I would think. If you want to get married to someone of a different tribe, you should be at liberty to do that. Not even your parents should be in a position to stop you from doing that. Yes.
Perfect. Yes. Let us know.
My perspective of view on intermarriages, I would say, one, it's a very beautiful thing because it is the joining of two different cultures, joining of two different personalities. First of all, personality traits, then cultures. Imagine an Italian getting married to someone from Nigeria. Like, can you imagine the combination, Italiano, and then we have Oga here, and it's just a beautiful thing altogether. For me, I think when it comes to intermarriages, one, you get to understand why people behave a certain type of way. You get to understand why Nigerians will say they will have their nakati or dodo or the greens they eat and have them with milk and even gin at best, yes? Oh. And then you'll get to understand why Italians prefer to eat pizza with white wine.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it's a very beautiful thing, not just even culture-wise, but you get to understand why people do things a certain way. You get to appreciate other people's culture. So you're not confined in just Buganda, in just the West, in just Kampala. You get to understand, okay, people from Nigeria behave like this, people from Italy behave like this, people from Brazil behave like this. So it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, well, for me, what I have to say about intermarriages, just like Sarah said, it's a very beautiful thing. I'm a product of an intermarriage, if I should say that, yeah, because my mother is from the West and my dad is from the North. So Alugbara coming together with the Amunyankole, they made this. So
Beauty.
yes, they made this. So for me, I'm all for intermarriages, because at the end of the day, just like, you know, you highlighted, Shivan, you get to learn about different cultures. You get to understand that, hey, there's people from this side, this is how they behave, and there's people from this side, this is how they do their things. But now, mixed marriages, we see that actually they're now becoming more and more common, especially in the 21st century. And of course, up until the middle to the late 20th century, mixed marriages were frowned upon in most parts of the world, including our Uganda. Yes. So I'm going to bring back the discussion back to the Ugandan context and, you know, Indian men being asked to marry Ugandan women. Why isn't that happening for us yet as a country? Because Indians have been here since time immemorial, if I should put it that way. They've been here for quite some time. But they're not intermarrying. Why?
Because their community is largely endogamous. That means they are married within their cultural constructs. That is within their tribes or their traditions or religions or ethnicity, like within themselves. It's literally closed off. And for them, marriage is more like a coming together of families as opposed to a coming together of individuals. You see, so it's not just you. You're marrying the whole family. You get, and that is why largely their marriages were, what is it? Where they pick a husband for you or pick a wife for you.
Oh yeah, like they're
arranged marriages. Yeah. And it was also the same thing. Let's not even just leave it just to Indians themselves. Even us Ugandans, most of our tribes are also endogamous. You know, they just marry within themselves. It's just as of late that people are now starting to be a lot more open-minded. And I understand why people would be a little hesitant to, you know, start marrying from different cultures or different races. It's because then you're going to come and start dissolving the culture or traditions or values or principles of that society. Do you understand? And some people hold their cultures, you know, so really dear to them. Yeah. So now if I'm going to bring, say for instance, even let's look at just intermarrying between different religions. Say you have a Muslim and then a Christian. If you're a Christian woman, then now you're going to have to start veiling yourself. You're going to start, you know, stop doing certain things because you have to be accommodative to that. I see where the problem can come in, but again, it's important. The question is, how do I marry you and live the rest of my life with you while I respect your culture and you respect mine? Because you'll find that there are certain things in my culture that are disrespectful to you, and vice versa. So how do you find harmony within that? So some people would rather just, you know what, let's just not complicate things and let's just move on. Yes.
In relation to what Sarah has said, she said and highlighted and said that there are people who are very passionate about their culture, about where they come from. And actually Indians are like that. And when you look at Indians, Japanese, and I think also Chinese, they're very passionate about the kind of people that they are. So for me, I would say for people that are very passionate about their culture, when you intermarry, the question is, will your partner respectfully understand that this is how in your culture it is supposed to be done? Will they uphold the principles and values? But also for very many people, they just want to keep the lineage, they just want to keep the race, they just want to keep the name, you know. They do not want to bring someone onto the boat that will not appreciate or even understand, or might even downplay their culture. So you would rather you preserve the culture that exists now and just stay away completely from intermarriages. But I mean, the era that we are living in now, like Priva, you have said, we're in the 21st century, where intermarriages are things that are happening now and again. But common, for the Indian community, I would profoundly say, because the Indian community, I was reading, and it has about 2.8 billion people, and the reason as to why they mostly
worldwide?
do not 2.8 in the country. So the reason why I'm thinking they do not want to intermarry is just preservation of their culture, and thinking that not very many people will adapt and even respect it. Let's look at how Indians eat. Let's look like they eat to, like, for them, family is their strongest unit. And that is what used to be also back in Africa, by the way. During ATS, African Traditional Society, family was the most important unit before any other thing. So there are people who treasure family, there are people who do not. There are people who treasure culture, there are those that do not.
But I feel like, still, like you mentioned it, that should be two cultures that fuse well together, because at the end of the day, we all eat on the same plate. We're also eating on the same plate. So have we eroded our own culture as Ugandans?
The question would be, me from Uganda or me from Africa, and you who is from India, whose culture are we going to adopt to? Because me, I'm thinking my Ugandan culture is the best. I would say, for example, I'm a proud Muganda, and you, maybe you are proud from India. Are we able to fuse together and respect that in Buganda we kneel while greeting, but in India they might not do it? So I think it's also, it's a very tricky situation, because you're thinking both cultures are very important, but who will bend towards accepting the other culture, which is the biggest question.
Well, for me, I would think that to start with, I think it comes with a conflict that has been there for centuries and centuries, for ancestors, you know. Talking about the Indian situation, you remember the time Idi Amin chased Indians from Uganda. So we cannot really rule out the fact that maybe in some way they feel like they're not entirely accepted in Uganda or welcome. They might come here and they're like, you know, they're doing, they're basically saying, you know, the goal is to do business, the goal is, you know, to live in Uganda. But at the back of their minds, they feel maybe we're not actually fully accepted in Uganda. Or thinking that maybe the event that happened during the Idi Amin time could happen again. And let me take it to let's go all the way to our neighbors in Rwanda when I'm talking about conflict. Like, for example, the Tutsis and the Hutus have been at loggerheads for years. For years it has been in existence. So for them, they feel like let us marry within our clan. Let us marry within our, you know, us. We understand each other. The way you'd be in your culture, the way you'd be in your family, you're like, you know what, we have each other's back. So you are always you're always feeling insecure about the other person and their true intentions towards you. So I think it comes back to conflict, and yes, much as sometimes it can be dissolved, they're always, the issues are always there. And the other thing, I think it comes back to stereotypes. The Wairu and the Wahuma of this country, or of the Bantu, you know, dynasty, they never wanted to intermix, or, you know, because they looked at the other ones as herdsmen, the privileged ones, and they looked at these ones as the vulnerable ones, or, you know, the minority group, the ones who used to go and till the land and farm and suffer. So yes, the peasants, that's what it is. So there are all these negative stereotypes. So if you're a Muhuma, at the end of the day, you're like, how will my family look at me if I'm getting married to a Mwiru, you understand? So it comes back to all those, I mean, we have all these cultural confinements and, you know, stereotypes. So yes, I think that is the reason.
Well, I think a lot of societies have, you know, toned down the classism and divisionism. I see. Yes, I know it is still there. I know it is still there, but like I said, it has been toned down. The example of the Rwandans in Rwanda after the genocide in 1994, the whole tribal, you know, segregation and separation and division was eradicated and removed. It's still very existent, but you are not allowed to come out and just talk about it like that. And like I said, it has been toned down, and now they're a lot more peaceful. That's why I'm saying, even here in Uganda, among us, the different tribes, you rarely find. You still hear conversations like, oh, you cannot marry from the West, or you cannot marry from the North, or you cannot marry from the East, and so on and so forth. But people, of course, with education and enlightenment and empowerment, it is slowly taking its, you know, having its place in society, where people now can freely marry whoever it is that they want. Like again, I said, in the past, marriage all over the world, across different cultures, the purpose was not because you love someone. It was an alliance between two families. That is what marriage was for. It was for economic, social, political reasons. It was not Imbu, I love you. Nobody cares about you. Love will find you there and you'll make it work.
You make it work when you're there.
That is why a lot of cultures had even put a dictatorship over who their children would marry, because it had to be beneficial to them as opposed to just your feelings. So now that feelings are coming into play, a lot of people are now starting to prefer to choose their own spouse or partner. So slowly by slowly, I think there is still time, because I mean, Indians have now moved on to even ask the president to have them included into our ethnical map, included as a tribe in Uganda, because they have been here a very long time. There are some people who were born here, married here, and died here, you know, you understand? So they are Ugandan in every sense. So I think let's just give them time, you know, to understand, because they still are very strong on their, you know, traditions and cultures, and so are we. You understand? You're not going to, so if our parents will all get a mini heart attack when you bring a boyfriend home with dreadlocks.
What about someone of a different
exactly. Yeah. What about somebody from a different race or culture?
For me, what I have to say about intermarriages and especially Indian men not marrying Ugandan women, I feel like it's more on the issue of they don't want to get or run instinct. They're facing maybe extinction in this particular country. I mean, this is not their first country. This is not India. This is Uganda. So there are a couple of Indians that are living here. So if you start intermarrying and mixing with Ugandans, you're eroding that whole how would I call it? Yes, their culture. They are losing their culture. They are losing their identification as Indians, purely Indians. Not you have an Indian mother, you have a Ugandan man. You are basically they're basically facing extinction, and they're thinking, no, if we intermarry, we are going to lose out. We are going to just be depleted in no time, and we won't even have an Indian that we can recognize in our community here in Uganda.
What if we called a spade a spade? How many stories have we heard of Indian men dating Ugandan women, and they do not introduce their women to their parents back in India? I mean, they marry you. I've had very many stories where the man marries you from here in Uganda, and yet he has a wife back in India. So for you, you're the Ugandan wife, then he has an Indian. Yes, there are actually stories like that. I've heard stories like that.
So, let me conclude on my point. Yes, extinction. I feel the Indians are facing extinction within Uganda, and they feel if they continue to intermarry, they will lose out on their identity as Indians in Uganda.
That is actually quite interesting. But let's talk about every other community around the world.
Yeah.
Don't you think we are all facing original identity back to our roots? Because I think I have about maybe 4. Because tracing back my family tree, at least 4 tribes within it. So this right here looks nothing like my original.
But we are talking about Indians who feel their culture is so dear to them. They feel like their morals, their values, everything they possess as Indians is very close to them. Yeah.
I totally understand that, but that is, I think it's inevitable, because all of us are going to have to evolve and change and just keep on tracing back. I watched a documentary that said that everybody in Uganda is not an original occupant of this country. All our tribes migrated from somewhere else. Okay.
Yeah.
For instance,
get into the history.
For instance, my tribe. Some say we originated from the Ethiopian highlands. I beg your pardon. So it's inevitable. It is going to happen regardless.
One issue with this is if they don't want their culture to be diluted or depleted, and yet they want a tribe in this country, they want, you know, to be recognized as a tribe in this country, it won't work. We have about 50 tribes or 45 in this country. 56, yes. Now, because you cannot want to have a tribe in a country that's not yours. Yes.
First of all. Okay.
That's one thing. One thing, and then you want to isolate yourself. That cannot work.
That doesn't work.
But being born here makes them citizens of Uganda.
In 2018, yes, that was November 24th. The president actually did tweet. The president of Uganda, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, did tweet and said on the issue of recognizing Indians as a tribe, government will work on it. We can use the example of the Nubians. There were soldiers from Egypt, Turkey, and South Sudan. They came here and never went back. They are recognized as a tribe in our constitution. Now, some of the comments They came out and said, I have not seen any valid example of Indians marrying our women here. So why do they need a tribe?
Yes.
How about if we went
why?
to India? How about if we went to India and said, okay, now Ugandans also want to be part of the Indian constitution? Would they accept?
One of the other
my
major issue here is the double standard.
Yes.
Because if you trace back to Indian history, or if you look at how I'm not downplaying them. I've met several Indians that are really nice, and I'm not saying that they are bad people.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying they love their culture and they're talking about preservation. And yes, they want to be, included as a tribe in Uganda. But if the tables were turned, would they accept Uganda to be part?
We
To
would
form
never
its own
say
tribe.
To form
Yeah,
a
its own
smaller
tribe.
tribe in India.
in
No,
India.
they wouldn't.
Probably
Why?
not.
The thing is,
No,
we
they
never
wouldn't.
know.
Why?
Probably not.
No, because they are very passionate about their culture. I have actually seen this. I know of several Indian men who would never introduce their Ugandan girlfriends to their Indian parents.
Okay, guys.
Why? Because it is not allowed.
Guys, one of the
So is
comments
that
as
being
well.
fair?
One of the comments as well said they know Indians to be racist in Uganda. They treat Ugandans very poorly. These are comments under the president's tweet coming from Ugandans.
From the president's
Yes, coming from Ugandans. So let's talk about the race card, because we've seen examples, not even examples, we've seen news, we've seen what are they called? Not news stories, but yes, stories in news. Yes, we've seen them coming out and saying actually people who are under Indians as managers or whoever, as employees or what, they go through a lot of exploitation, torture. Like there's basically no human dignity that is attached to Ugandans who are working for Indians. So even Ugandans are finding it very hard to accept Indians to accept Indians in the form of like let's marry them, because already in the economic space Ugandans are suffering. So much as they say there's a cultural difference between Ugandans and Ugandan women and Indian men, I mean,
But
Let's start with them actually respecting the people that
there's a
work
cultural
for
difference,
them.
but if I marry you, how am I sure it's going to be different from how you're treating someone who's working for you just as an employee?
Yeah, because if you're treating
You are the wife.
You're the wife, you're the employee, that you're being treated so poorly, but now you're the wife. What will happen?
The reason that, let's first ask ourselves, why do they treat us differently if we are their employees? Because, well, I have walked into a supermarket where I think it's predominantly an Indian-owned supermarket, and there were these Ugandans working there, and to be honest, I think one of the managers got into an altercation with one of the employees because I think she had done, and they almost slapped that lady. I was looking at it myself. I can attest to this. I don't have a video, but I can attest to it. So the reasons that they treat these employees like this, I don't know whether because we are black, or because we don't share the same values, the same cultures, or maybe they undermine us as a people. So let's actually even start with solving these small, they're not even small issues, they are big issues, before we head on to getting married to them, asking Ugandan men. I would be sure that a Ugandan man would actually treat an Indian woman well. I'm almost sure, but I'm not almost sure of the reverse. If I got married to an Indian man, I don't know about that.
Listen, I think let's not throw away or cut down the whole apple tree because of a few bad apples.
There are not a few bad apples. Sarah. There are not a few bad apples.
Let's not burn or cut down the whole tree because of a few bad apples. In every society, there are a few bad apples. People who treat other people less than or treat people horribly. The thing is that, let's take it, for me, I believe and I do appreciate and respect their culture. I think it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, we even adopt their attire in our introduction ceremonies and our weddings and our functions. You understand? We have seen music videos, a lot of people, dressing up like Indian people and Indian women or Indian men and whatnot. The thing is that I think we just need to get to a place where it is so dear to them. You can't tell someone to just hand over something that is so dear to them, okay? Even though they have been here for years, and by fact they are citizens of Uganda. Being born in a country makes you a citizen by default.
Just not moving like
Sarah,
Ugandans.
listen, okay, yes, and
You
I
have
understand.
a citizenship, but you're not moving like a Ugandan, so
I'm saying it takes time, okay?
Fair.
And I understand that one of the ways that they can be adopted and accepted is if they allow intermarriages. But you see, when it comes with intermarriages, again, I said it goes down to diluting your values and your
Let me tell you guys. No,
I'm going
to tell you a very.
Understand? So I don't think it is fair for us to say that, oh, you just now, because you're in our country now, you relinquish everything that you know and whatever, because
but that is not what we are saying.
I think it is. I think we are being a little. I think we are being very unfair to them.
Yes, please, make a submission. Yes.
What I am saying is, Sarah, we actually do respect Indians and their culture. That is why you see us wearing saris. That's why you see us, imitating their culture, because we actually love and value their culture.
Yes.
But do they love and respect our culture?
Have you ever seen any Indian in a gomez?
I was going to say that.
Again.
Yes. So for us, it's not an issue on our end. It's an issue on their
I
end.
don't
because we
think
have
so.
fully accepted them. We actually treat them like human beings, not because they're Indians, but because they're human beings. And we would actually expect
the same treatment,
them to reciprocate that energy. So for us, the issue is, can they actually respect and value us as human beings? Not even because we are black or
let us name and shame those bad apples.
You guys,
not everyone.
Let's bring the conversation back on board. Sarah, we are out of time. Sarah, we're out of time. Yes. So I'll give a very short story. I once worked for an Indian when I was in my Form 6 vac. I was very I think I was ahead of my time. I was very young, but I was like, why should I just be here doing nothing? So let me maybe go and work. And he had this shop downtown in Chukubo where they sell like very nice shoes that were coming in, I think, from Italy. So this guy, let me tell you, you're not allowed to sit. Yes,
because you're working.
No. Even Sarah, this is crazy. You're not allowed to sit. You're not allowed to sit. You're not allowed to have time off to have lunch. Yes, you're supposed to work the whole day and probably get like a 5,000 at the end of the day, and also get 30,000 like at the end of the week. I promise you, I worked for that 1 week and I never went back. But when it comes to treatment of Ugandans coming from the Indian side, that's an issue that they need to look into and actually work on.
Yeah, I agree.
It is judicially noticed. Let me put it that way. Every Ugandan knows how Indians do not treat Ugandans very well when it comes to the economic space. So it's going to be very hard. Yeah. It's going to be very hard when you're pushing the narrative of intermarriages, especially from our side. We saw the said Minister Chris Baryomunsi saying, this is good. They should do it. But it's going to be hard to come into how would I call it?
Into effect.
To be realized, yes, to be realized if Ugandans still hold that sort of view about the Indians. Because, what is happening now is not far different from what happened back in the 70s before Idi Amin chased the Indians out of Uganda. So
something very interesting about the Indian community is that for me, it gives me shivers when we say that, okay, now we are adopting the Indian culture. And of course, looking at what Priva has said, everyone would have their own story to tell about how an Indian has treated them. But let's look at how they treat the minority groups in their own country. It's crazy.
Their own Indians, their own black Indians are being treated so poorly.
Their own black Indians are being treated terribly. Yeah. They are the minority group. It's even stated in their constitution. Make it make sense. So if you're able to treat your own people badly, it's sort of like, if you do not love your family, how can you claim that you love someone else that is not your family member? How?
Let's talk about in just short, in a few. We're out of time. Yes, we're out of time, Sarah. So in a few minutes, I'm going to ask you ladies to tell us, what's that one advantage and what that one disadvantage of the Indian men marrying Ugandan women? What do you think will benefit from this, and what are actually the downsides to this? In a few minutes, because we are really running out of time.
I think it will help us diversify our culture as a whole in the country. And I think, again, it's a beautiful thing. It just takes time. You just can't come and say now, oh, we want your women, oh, we want your men. It takes time. And I think intermarriage would be one of the solutions to curb some of the examples that you ladies have, suffered at their hands, have suffered at the hands of a few bad apples. Do you understand what I mean? Because, this is something that was applied a long time ago, and it worked and it helped. And it's something that we can apply right now, but it's going to take time. I don't think we can get into a hasty rush to just tell people, okay, now just open up yourself and start accepting us, or what, in one way or the other.
Start accepting us in our own country.
No, listen, again, it's the entitlement. Just because I have come into your house does not mean I should you know, tell me what you
tell
do.
me
You can't tell me
Come
what to
on,
see.
come
I think
on.
it's
It's
wrong.
my house.
I
At
think
the
let
end of
us
the
be
day, I make the rules.
let us be more patient and a lot more diplomatic about it. And I think let us just go on to empower each other. Let us empower each other and help each other understand that, you know what, this could actually be a good thing and beneficial for, you know,
All
on
parties
both
involved.
ends, all
Yes.
Well,
parties
for me,
involved.
the one, I'll just actually be very brief. I think that intermarriages between Indians and Ugandan men and Ugandan and Indian women, the one advantage would be us living harmoniously and maybe deciding to put our differences aside and what we have suffered in the past at the hands of, you know, some, Sarah called them bad apples, yes. We can decide to put our differences aside and moving forward, live harmoniously. I don't know about if there would be any disadvantages, but if there would be any, I think it would be if our men or our women are actually mistreated. Yes, our Ugandan men and Ugandan women, if they are mistreated at the hands of the people they get married to, that would be the problem. Yes.
The mistreatment.
But
treatment.
even
Yes.
us, mistreat our own
Sarah.
people.
Yes, Shivan, please.
Mine would be, there is a reason why they say history shall repeat itself. And there is a reason why President Idi Amin first chased the Indians from Uganda. He had a reason. However, I would say this. I do not think there is an issue with Ugandans intermarrying with the Indians. However, they should first of all lead by example.
Oh, yeah.
Lead by example. They need to start treating people better. Then maybe then it would
Can
be a
have
good
a conversation, yes, about intermarriages
Not
in
be by
Uganda.
force, you
So,
If they then let's not
even
intermarry.
also
let's
Ugandans
live
treat
our
their own
own-
Ugandans badly, their own tribesmates badly. We
Okay.
are tribalistic to
all right,
our
ladies.
own
Okay,
people.
all right, ladies.
So
In the
let us
interest
not
of
throw
time,
stones.
I'm going to give advantages of, you know, intermarriages, and one of them is that mixed marriages promote tolerance in interracial communities. Now, when a member of a racial community gets married to a member of another racial community, the two communities are forced to interact to some degree, from weddings to parties, to birthday parties, to funerals, and to family reunions. Interracial couples also get to experience the family life of their other spouses, just like, you know, normal couples do. So, owing to this, different racial groups get to interact and develop a mutual understanding that can reduce differences in any community. Then we have the bit of having genetically stronger offspring. Mixed race offspring are generally likely to have a higher genetic capacity for a healthier life than single race offspring. Now, in layman's terms, this may happen because the strength of the genes of either race may make up for the weaknesses of the other, but preserve their strength at the same time. So you need genetically stronger, you know, offspring. But looking at the disadvantages of intermarriages, we see that there is the cultural identity of children, and mixed race children will often find themselves having identity crisis with the culture and also trying to associate themselves with the community of one parent over the other. Now, it is more pronounced in situations where parents are not only from different races but also different countries. You've had people associate themselves with, you know, I'm half Kenyan, half Ugandan, but I'm Kenyan. Okay. Well, we have also culture shock. Yes, it is inevitable for mixed marriages and requires a good deal of patience, open-mindedness, and understanding to overcome. So both partners will need to be open-minded and tolerant of the differences in their respective cultures. Yeah, the culture shock is very it's very strong on that point. Now, there's also the disapproval from family. One's family probably forms the closest group of, you know, people, and if they're intolerant about mixed marriages, you will definitely have a problem. So, as you intermarry, explain to your family that, you know, love is love. Well, that's all I had for you this morning. On our last segment of the show, that is our views. I've been joined by the lovely ladies. The conversation continues on our social media platforms. That is Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at SEETV Uganda. My name is Priva Elibaz. This is Sunrise at Sea.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on Sunrise at Sea this morning. We've had beautiful and amazing discussions with the ladies and the guests that we had on the Twitter jabs. And yes, we're talking about Makerere University Guild election rules. And moving forward, I hope that the Makerere University Management or Council can actually sit on a round table with the Makerere University Guild Council so that eventually, you know, they can find a long-lasting solution to all the grievances that are taking place at Makerere University. And yes, we did wind up the show with a conversation in regard to intermarriages. I'll just say one thing. please, when someone finds their person and they zero down and they say, this is the person I want to get married to, it doesn't matter their race, it doesn't matter their culture, there's a reason why they chose this person, and you shouldn't be in position to tell them otherwise, unless you know something that they do not know. Because some of us attend weddings for the food, for the party, for the drinks, but these two people will live in that house, the two of them. They'll face each other, all their grievances, all their good moments, all the bad moments that we won't have any idea about. So bottom line, when a person finds their person, culture shouldn't matter, race shouldn't matter. Being a human being is all that should matter. Well, that is all we had for you in this segment, or rather on the show on Sunrise at Sea this morning. Keep watching CTV and don't blink.